All right, here we go. Ford Lightning, launch. Oh God.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike Glover, Fieldcraft Survival. Let's talk about electric vehicle bug outs. Now, I already know this is a pretty controversial topic because I've seen the comments. I get it, right? I get it. It has to do with politicizing climate change, pushing EV. Got it. Let's set that aside and have a conversation about what I think would be the benefits of why you should look at electric vehicle as a potential bug out platform. Of note, number one, I'm not paid by any electric vehicle company. I'm just not. Number two, I'm not promoting electric vehicles. I would likely not own an electric vehicle. One of the reasons I won't own electric vehicles because I have a dozen gas and diesel vehicles is because I like gas and diesel. But when you think about a bug out, you have to take some things into consideration, including the infrastructure, including the platform. Let's first talk about the infrastructure. Before I get in the infrastructure, you should know that 2.5 million people, about 1% of all vehicles on the road right now, are electric. That's a lot. Whether I'm talking to the 2.5 million who already own vehicles, or the other part of the population who might be considering it, or even the part of the population who would never consider it, let's talk about infrastructure because that's important to understand. A lot of people think that the infrastructure and electricity, like the power to your house, could just be turned off with a button. And that's just not true. The overwhelming majority of the electricity in the country is privately owned. Let me give you my house, for example. My house in Heber City, Utah, is powered by a hydroelectric dam a couple miles down the road, 15 minutes down the road, that was built in the early 90s. That power supplies private power through a private company to about 13,000 homes. So the grid could start shutting down all across the country, and because we are privately owned and operated through a private business, we'll be insulated. Now, there are lots of the infrastructure that provides that power and distribution that is owned by the government, whether it's crossing through government lands like the Bureau of Land Management, National Forest, the list goes on. That's a thing. So you have to understand that this idea that the button exists to turn off the grid isn't really a thing in most places. 80% of the grid is privately owned. The statistic I found on the government-owned component of the infrastructure has to do with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who owns a lot of hydroelectric dams in the country that are feeding power to federal entities, including federal government buildings. Now, if you take the oil and gas system, which is overwhelmingly moderated, regulated by the US government, it's also heavily privately owned. But where does that gas come from? Most of the gas comes from North Dakota and Texas. 60% of the oil and gas that's provided to you, that's non-refined, comes from the country. The rest of it is outsourced to countries like Mexico, Canada, Colombia, Russia. So when we look at our oil and gas system, this is where I start thinking about, man, we should start paying attention to electric vehicles. Because the system and the infrastructure of oil and gas is pretty complex. I mean, it's simplified. I could simplify it for you, but it's pretty complex because a lot of people have their hands in things, including the distribution in the railroads, the truck drivers that distribute that gas across the country. In Utah, there's 5 oil refineries north of Salt Lake City that provide a lot of barrels of oil to the communities and to the gas stations in Utah. So, why is that important? Well, if you understand infrastructure, you understand that when things start collapsing, whether it's a natural or man-made disaster, then people who are part of that problem are going to break down and fragment, and people are going to be fighting for resources. So the question is, if there's a disaster, are you more likely to be affected by oil and gas at the gas pump? Or are you more likely to be affected by the electricity in your house. Lastly, when thinking about this, we're saying, if you're just like, oil and gas is the only way. Well, unless you know how to frack, refine the oil, and distribute the oil on your own, then you are very dependent on somebody else. Look, I'm weighing these things because it's important to weigh different options. A lot of this politicizing of it has people saying, I stand behind this, and they're not educated on it. I'm looking for renewable means. I mean, the perfect bug out platform is the Spider-Man bike that I showed on my story the other day. Like, you want a Spider-Man bike? They have that in Batman options as well. And you want to use your legs? That's fine, but that requires calories. Fuel isn't free. You actually have to have a source or a means. That's all we're trying to figure out. I could tell you from experience and knowing the stats on electric vehicles, it's not going to work out great. It's probably going to fail. But there are considerations, including bugging in. Because if I have a vehicle that's dependent on a private business that's going to maintain that power, and I could provide the security for that power grid, then that's dependable. That's the tool in my toolkit that's going to help me in the worst case scenario. But if I solely depend on the gas operated vehicle in my driveway and the gas station down the road that I think is going to magically provide the supply of gasoline to my vehicle for my home for my logistics, that's silly. I think bugging out and bugging in and the idea of running an electric vehicle to Montana and Kalispell is going to be fun. I think it's going to teach us a lot of lessons, which is the entire point of this conversation. Look, I don't want to sway you anyway. I'm not going to pay $75,000 for an electric vehicle. I have plenty of gas vehicles that are dependable, but I might look at it as a viable option. It's fun, it's exhilarating, it's cool to like test, but I'm not swaying you anyway. We will let the content provide that for you. But it's going to be a fun experiment in bugging out, period, which is the whole point of this. Guys, I want you to live your prep life. I hope you guys are paying attention and having fun along the way. Let's have the conversations down below. Feel free. That's where you could allow people to understand your expertise, give your opinions, hit the subscribe notification tab. Until next time, we will see you very soon because I'm doing this at the end of this month, and we'll see how this thing does. Until next time, peace out.